Hello everyone, I'm Arvid Slot, Capacity Development Advisor at Danida Fellowship Centre. On behalf of the Danida Fellowship Centre, I'm delighted to host all of you and extend a warm welcome to this second water webinar out of a series of 3 that DFC is launching this year. This water webinar is a hybrid session having both in-person participants and an online audience. Moreover, it is recorded and live streamed via Danida Fellowship's channels, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. But most importantly, today we have 5 great presenters. They are Dr. Pasgaard from Denmark, Mr. Jesse Kazapoe from Ghana, Ms Shana Fatina from Indonesia, Dr. Martin Oteng Arabio from Ghana, and Mr. Fonani Ramalamula from South Africa. A more comprehensive introduction to each presenter will follow as we proceed. During this webinar, we will learn and explore problem-based cases and dilemmas in nature-based solutions, in particular cases related to water availability and water quality. In short, the purpose of the webinar is twofold. 1, learn from cases presented by experts and DFC fellows in the field of water resource management and wastewater treatment. And 2, share knowledge and practice to strengthen sustainable management of water resources and jointly explore the solutions. Now, I welcome Dr. Nicola Balbarini. Nicola is a water resource expert from DHI and will be our great facilitator today. Wish you all a wonderful session. Over to you, Nicola.
Good. Thank you, Arvid, and welcome everyone again. My name is Nicola Balbarini, as Arvid just mentioned, and I will be your moderator. It's my pleasure to be your moderator today. Just a little bit of logistic for how the day is going to be, or the next couple of hours are going to be. We're going to have 5 short presentations to kind of kick off the debate. So we will run them all in series, so one after each other. So if you have any questions, please, note them down. If you are online, you can already start writing them in the chat, and then we will have time after all 5 presentations for the debate, where our presenters will then be asked to address the questions that you have posed. And of course, as Arvid mentioned, there's going to be a little bit of logistics. Some presenters are going to be online, some are going to be present here in person. So please be patient when we switch between presenters. And to ensure that we stay on time with our program, I'll of course ask our presenters to be quite sharp with the time that has been given to them. It's just a few minutes, and as I mentioned, it's just a way to kick off the debate. And of course, we will be reminding you, to all the presenters, when time is coming up. Good. So no more words, no more logistic, and it's maybe time to get started with the first presentation. And I would like to invite our first presenter, which is Dr. Maya Pasgaard. She's an assistant professor at the Aarhus University, and she will introduce us on the use of nature-based solutions for sustainable cities. I believe she's online, so over to you, Maya.
Hello, Nicola and everyone. Thank you for inviting us. I will quickly just share my screen. And here we go. I trust that it is working. Let me just get it up and running. Here we go. I hope that someone will shout out if it's not showing full screen. So I'm representing today, together with my PhD student Kathy, also somewhere here in cyberspace, on our project called Collaboration on Nature-Based Solutions for Sustainable Cities. And this project is funded by Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the two primary research partners are University of Pretoria and Aarhus University. And our main stakeholders are City of Aarhus and City of Pretoria, or City of Tshwane, which are in a strategic sector collaboration. So if we look at our project context, we have identified two problems based on a previous project that ran over 2 years. And I want to just quickly highlight two of these problems to set the scene. We have seen interlinked waste and water challenges in local disadvantaged communities in City of Tshwane. But we have also seen great potential and willingness to engage in collaborative and creative community-based action on the ground, trying to tackle these great problems that are interlinked, as I will show you in a second. We've also experienced and unfolded silo thinking across sectors, including research, but also across departments locally that try to solve these issues. And we see that there's a bit of a missing joint vision, joint strategy to tackle these issues. But also, again, a great willingness, a great potential to actually increase the capacity for institutions, for stakeholders to actually change in a more sustainable direction. To exemplify briefly these waste and water challenges, if you look to the bottom, I have two short videos from our study sites. If you look at the Mapupane one, you can see here there's actually a sewage spill, and it has been running for days, just spilling out sewage water into the local green, urban green space, going on for days and really polluting the area. If we look at the Atteridgeville example, you will see it's actually a water leak in a pile of waste. And if you can see further down the road, how the water is just spilling out into the local community, leaking water in a city that actually has a great water loss and almost a water crisis. So you can see very visibly these challenges and how they're actually there every single day. Kathy and I, just a week ago, saw a mix of water spill and sewage spill in our local study site. So what are we going to do? We want to explore a collaborative transdisciplinary approach for facilitating nature-based solutions locally. We have some work streams, so I'm going to take you through them one by one. We want to build or facilitate this institutional change capacity among actors. We want to also work with local communities to empower them to create co-ownership of the solutions that are needed. Together with our landscape architecture colleagues at University of Pretoria, we hope to co-create nature-based design experiments focusing on local community care and capabilities. With our ecological colleagues, we want to build or catalyze awareness of both the existing ecological state, but also the restoration potential. And all of us together want to work with interactive and engaging communication and outreach. So it seems that these work streams are working in parallel, but we really focus on integrating our different backgrounds and expertises, working from brainstorm to analysis to outreach. We work together across disciplines, which is both challenging, but also very, very rewarding. So what could this look like in practice on the ground? We want to do a set of prototypes. So, unfinished or half-baked ideas that can then be taken up to the next stage. So as I showed you with the sewage spill, but also with the existing river streams, we want to run actually community-owned, community-driven river restoration on site and work with creating stronger response options to these spills and leaks. So we actually have money set aside to hire community workers to run a restoration project and also community-based monitoring of the effects. With our design colleagues at University of Pretoria, we also want to implement a set of design prototypes, collaborative nature-based design and prototype experiments, whether it is pocket parks or recycling, rainwater harvesting. We don't know yet because it really builds on the needs and skills of the local community, exemplified by this amazing lady that we connect with on site every time we go there. With these prototypes and really engaging strongly across disciplines, across sectors, and especially with the local community, we hope to bring our co-created knowledge into action on the ground, action that stays within the community and across stakeholders. So this is actually the only 2 slides that I want to show you today, but I have not got a warning from the facilitator yet. So I want to invite my PhD student, Kathy, who will work exactly with the knowledge to action, and maybe she has a few words to round up.
Thank you so much, Maya. Can you hear me? Great. Yeah, thanks so much for the invitation. I think what I would like to share with this and what Maya presented is that it's quite a unique opportunity here because we're working very, very closely together with the SSC and the city of Aarhus and the city of Tshwane to create this knowledge to action. And we have actually one work package only dedicated towards this. And I'm working particularly with concept of urban transformative capacity, which is, I think, just a fancy approach or term that actually just says on how can we actually change, right? How can we do things differently in city administrations, and how can we embed this knowledge that we actually create through the prototypes, through our interdisciplinary approach? How can we actually embed and transfer or translate these learnings to the cities? And actually, it's, I think, even more than just transferring it, but really co-creating this. So we have actually a process mapped out where we try to involve the city regularly in workshops, in study site visits, in focus groups. So to really creating an understanding together and to learn together and to perfect together. And I think that is very beautiful about this particular approach here.
Rounding up the presentation that you and Maya has done here. And thank you very much for introducing us to this exciting work that you're doing with nature-based solutions. I would like now to introduce the next speaker. He's actually here in person. His name is Mr. Jesse Kazapoe. Ask him to get ready. That's great. He is the head of White Volta River Basin in Ghana. And he will bring his perspective on ensuring water security, especially looking at the balance in access, quality, and sustainability of groundwater. Over to you, Jesse.
Thank you very, very much. So as was said, my name is Jesse from Ghana. I work with the Water Resources Commission, and I'm here to present on balancing and addressing the need for protecting groundwater resources within our country, Ghana. Groundwater is becoming very important to the state of Ghana. Actually, it's becoming the go-to water resource for domestic needs in our country. All conventional water treatment systems are augmented with groundwater supply in our country. About 95% of groundwater use in the country is for domestic purposes. 41% and above of the population of Ghana depend on groundwater resource for their domestic needs. 80% in the northern part of Ghana, more than 80%. And these values are the lower limits of what we've been able to achieve. These figures tell more about the needs and then the usage of groundwater resources within the country. And it has been observed that without these water resources, it has become a challenge for the country to be able to supply the needs of the people. About 5% of this water resource is used for irrigation, which is lesser, and about 1% less is also used for industrial needs. The quality of water resource in Ghana, groundwater, is very good. We currently do not have any issues except anthropogenic activities that affect the quality of groundwater. Direct infiltration from rainfall and precipitation is the primary source of groundwater recharge within the country, and we have abundance of rainfall within the country with the lower limits of about 900 milliliters within a year up to 1,000 millimeters within a year. Ghana is not under any immediate threat of over-abstraction because it's estimated that just about 4% of our groundwater resources are abstracted every year. Boreholes within the country are generally good in terms of quality, whether chemical or bacteriological. We do not have so much issues with quality except some isolated instances of fluoride concentrations and other elevated elements. The issues within our water resource and groundwater resource management are water quality degradation arising from agricultural runoffs, arising from pollution sources, arising from climate change, arising from lack of awareness, arising from land use changes, with population growth and urbanization. Groundwater resource is gradually coming under stress, inadequate monitoring, unregulated or illegal mining within the country. There are also issues with legal and policy gaps which have yet to be addressed, and measures are being put in place. The map on your right-hand side shows the water quality index that has been prepared by the Water Resources Commission to estimate the extent of pollution of our surface water resources, which also affect our groundwater resources, as you may see. And from the map, you can tell that we do not have so much very good quality surface water within the country because whatever we do on land affects our water resources. We dispose of waste. We dispose of waste, solid waste, liquid waste, all these pollutants find their way into our water resources and then they end up polluting the groundwater. So if you look at this chart, you look at the extent of the pollution, then it gives you an idea of what is happening to our groundwater resources. Some of the approaches being taken to address some of these challenges are decentralization of water governance, which we see as the first step to be able to achieve this aim of protecting our water resources. Because if you do not involve the local people who believe the water resource within the country belongs to them, because some of these people have lived around some of these water resources for years and for generations, and it is difficult for them to understand why we want to regulate and manage these water bodies and water resources around their environment. Within the country, by our laws, water is vested in the president who holds it in trust for the people of the country, and it is difficult for local people to understand why water resource that they have provided for themselves seem to belong to one particular person or belongs to the head of state. So decentralization of the governance structures will help bring people into the administration of water resources. We are not looking to put the final decision in the hands of people, but we want to encourage them to be involved in water resource management so that it becomes easier for us to put our needs and then assessments across. Stakeholder sensitization is very, very important because if people are not made aware of the need to protect groundwater resources, then it becomes very difficult for them to be able to play their role. Aggressive registration of all wells is being undertaken right now. We are looking to be able to identify all boreholes within the country, because most of these wells, we don't know about them yet. Within my basin, we only just have data of about between 8 to 9% of the boreholes that we have within the basin. But we believe there's a lot that we'll be able to do to be able to protect these water resources if you're able to assess them and analyze them very well, and to be able to have information about them. Establishment of comprehensive monitoring scheme is also very vital. Currently, we have institutions within the water sector who are picking their own data, keeping it for themselves. But we are looking at having a centralized database system which is available to the public, which can be attained anytime within real time. And it helps for us to be able to do the work that we want to do, to be able to identify pollutant sources, to be able to identify polluted areas within our water resources, and be able to put in measures to be able to address these things. We also want to leverage on existing and then future projects to be able to handle these issues. Some of the current projects we are running are not related to groundwater. They could be we could be working on surface water bodies, but we also find a way of chipping in issues regarding groundwater so that we'll be able to take advantage of this, the resources and the opportunities to be able to monitor our water resources and then have the needed information to be able to make decisions, to be able to make policies that will be able to help us go forward. We also want to put together the chance for people to be able to have access to groundwater data. Currently, if you need data within our country, you have to go through a very long procedure to be able to access it, and it is not free. You have to pay for it. So researchers find it very, very difficult to be able to get the information they need to be able to come up with decisions, to come up with findings that are beneficial to the people of the country, for us to be able to see how well our water resources, especially our groundwater resources, are being managed, how well we are utilizing them, what amount we have, and what we can do in the future to be able to protect them. And we also need to be able to put in place the necessary legal framework to be able to protect this resource. People go about drilling their own boreholes because our water supply systems are not able to keep up with the development of the people. The pace of development is going far faster than our conventional water treatment systems can cope. So people have relied on providing themselves with groundwater, even though we have the laws that are put in place to be able to manage this. Because the government is hand-tied and cannot provide the people with the water resources, other people take advantage of it and do as they wish. So we want to put in place the legal framework to be able to monitor and manage these water resources and not allow people to do as they wish, not allow people to drill and access water easily as they wish, because when they are doing it for their private good, they do not consider the general good of the people. And some of these measures will definitely help in protecting our water resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jesse, for bringing us this overview of the challenges, groundwater challenges in Ghana. The next presenter will change a little bit topic. We're going to look at how delivering water resilience in coastal and rural areas. And her name is Ms Shana Fatina. She's an entrepreneur, a founder and a CEO of Komodo Water in Indonesia. And she's also the president director of Labuan Flores Tourism Authority in Indonesia. And apologies for the pronunciation if it was not correct. Over to you, Shana.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, DFC, for this opportunity. So I'm going to share you about what is experience that we had in Indonesia, especially as an archipelagic country, that might be different and might be a lesson learned that might be useful also in other countries. Okay, so let's start with sharing about Indonesia is located in the equator. So we are a country that consists of more than 17,000 islands. You can imagine that. And then we are the fourth largest population in the world, which now we have approximately around 280 million people living, and the coastline is is the second longest coastline in the world, and it's spread around 5,000 kilometers from east to west, as the big size of United States. But the difference is we are archipelago. So related to that, so I'm taking us to a smaller case, which is Nusa Tenggara province, where I belong, where I found the first problem about how delivering water resilience in the islands might be a very big problem for our location. Okay, so in Eastern Nusa Tenggara, actually, we're around 5.5 million peoples, and because it's archipelago, so the challenge is not everyone is served by the local water company. Even though we have 16 water company in the province, but there's a lot of islands that not being tapped to the local. And there's these local people, they're living as a fisherman, as a farmers, and they have to pay like 2 times extra cost to get the clean water far away from the mainland, and then they bring it to the island. And that's why they are depending on the rainwater harvesting. So when it is wet season, only 3 months in the whole year, they will put these old jerry cans and water tanks outside and take in the water, and they just use it to water. And after that, thinking about what happened is they don't have any electricity. So you can imagine if you in own island and then you don't have any electricity, then you have to find a way how to pump the water, for example, and how to deliver it and sustainably. And last but not least, because they're living in this high cost of clean water, they have this less productive economy. So it means most of their income, like 30% of them, are going to buy water. So how we want to deliver the water resilience? First one, in the local context. So we are really aware that we have this different culture of a fishery communities, fishermen communities, and then this farmer communities, and they have like local wisdom about how using this water for their daily life. For example, like some culture about protecting the water spring and etc. But however, they are used to live with the less healthy water. And then we can see about the resource availability. So basically, 62% of water that being used in East Nusa Tenggara is taken from water spring, which is only 14% using the groundwater, because we have to drill more than 200 meters, then you can find water. So it's quite costly for the local people. So by using that, we have to make sure that everything is set up before you do the drilling, to make sure the mapping, and then how to calculate the volume that you can use. And then you also have to manage the people and the management, how you can improve these local people with a limited number of resources and extend their capacity, then expertise how to use, for example, like how to use a pump in a local language way. You can train them, you can make it operated easily for the local people, so they don't have to be really sophisticated to can operate all these facilities. And then the other hand, we also finding how much they can pay actually. So from our research that our business is providing the water is half cheaper than they really had before. So why we do this? Because one, we want to grow the economy, but however, we have to make sure that they have this capability to pay the water, and by that we have to make them the end products. For example, like extending their fishery production or extending their farming production to extended market, so they have this capacity to pay back. And last but not least, of course, the technology, because East Nusa Tenggara is one of the best place in Indonesia to radiation on the solar power. So we combine this technology of water pumping and water technology can be 100% solar power. So it means we don't have to rely on the grid, and then we can do this independently in off-grid system. Okay, so what we're going to do next is actually we are trying to make an integrated water management solutions coming from private company, because we're not government, but it's really interesting because we know that the one and only way to provide these people good water and good quality water is to make sure they're able to afford it. So for example, we are building the other end product business with the farming, with the fishery, and then how we can tackle all this plastic waste problem that they use in the islands, because they are they only use like a bottled water in the islands because they lack of like transition and mobilization of the clean water access. So this kind of things at the moment, we're helping to put the field survey, data processing, collecting the data and put it in the GIS system. And we are willing to put this data available and publicly accessed. So we'll help all people who see in Labuan Bajo in East Nusa Tenggara that we can protect our groundwater, for example, but we can use it wisely, because it's not only to provide the water, but also how you manage it as sustainable and supporting the local economy. Maybe that is sharing from me. So looking forward to discuss with you all. Thank you.
Very much, Shana. Now the fourth presenter. His name is Dr. Martin Otego-Abadio. He's a distinguished professor of urban geography at the University of Ghana. And he will be introducing us to the role of institutions in the provision of urban infrastructure in Tema, in Ghana. And I believe he's online. So, he's not yet. Shall we move on to the next presenter then? So we'll give a little bit of extra time to Dr. Martin Abadio. So we'll move on to the last presenter. Then we'll come back to fourth one afterward. His name is Mr. Funani Owen Ramalamula, and I believe he's also online. So getting ready. That's very good to hear. He's a process controller at the city of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality in South Africa. And he will speak about the combined biological filtration and activities large processes in South Africa. So I'll give the space over to him, over to Funani, if he's ready to share. And I can see there are a little bit of challenges down there. So shall we wait a little bit, or is he online? Okay. I understand there's been a little bit of issues like arriving at the location, so that's why they are probably taking a little bit of time. Good. Then I'll leave this space to him. Over to you, Funani.
Hi. I don't know if everyone can see the slides.
Yeah, we hear you very well. We don't see your slides yet, but I believe I can see they're nodding from the technical room there behind. So I believe they're working hard getting the slides on as well. But we hear well, which is the first good step. And now we see your slides, also in presentation mode. That's amazing. Over to you.
I don't know whether
yes.
I just present or not getting any feedback.
We can hear well and we can see a slide.
Yes.
What, sorry? Please start, okay. Funani. Yeah.
I'm going to start. My name is Funani, and today I will be presenting in this water debate. It's quite a privilege to be part of this. So yeah, for many years, researchers and academics, local municipal leaders, water utilities across the world have been on a mission to build water resilient to climate change. This topic of resilient has become very, very important in many water utilities, and that's why there's a huge pursuit to improve discharge effluent. So because of this aim or this mission to build resilient, the focus has now been on new systems. So the new kid on the block, the Anamox process, so many of the new processes that are being developed to improve the effluent quality. And often the old system gets abandoned. And my question to you in this water debate is, are the advanced system, the new systems that you are looking at, are they always better, in your case? And I'll be presenting a case for City of Tshwane, and in this case, we are talking about mixing the old with the new. Hence, the title of my presentation is Combined Biological Filtration and Activated Sludge Process. So this is mixing the old with the new. So some of you might not know, depending on how old you have been in this water sector, the picture that I just showed there, but that is what we call a trickle filter technology. And in our case in South Africa, we have been using it for over 100 years. Even in my specific plant that I work for, we have been using this technology for over 100 years. So the picture that you see has been there for 100 years. And we've been utilizing the rock media, trickle filter biological treatment, and they are capable of providing good removal of organic contaminants, and it's noted to be stable, reliable, and economical. But the issue is that by itself, it does not offer operational flexibility and cannot provide high-quality effluent to meet the progressively stringent discharge limits. But it is very good in terms of nitrification. And the biological filtration now offers a good effluent quality in terms of phosphorus removal and nitrogen removal. And because the activated sludge process offers really good quality, the trickle filters in many cases has been underutilized. And my solution, or what I believe would work, is combining the two technologies, combining the old with the new. Trickle filters might not be relevant in most developed countries because they are already into the advanced activated sludge processes and stuff. But I believe this is still relevant mostly for developing countries that are really low in terms of the operational and capital costs. And I believe the solution lies in mixing the old system with the new, the old that has less maintenance. And the performance of this combined system has been demonstrated successfully in a full-scale implementation at one of our wastewater treatment works in the city of Tshwane. And I believe that there's a vast potential of combining this trickle filter and activated sludge process in a mainstream process in order to improve the effluent quality that is being discharged, and also to increase the capacity of a wastewater treatment works at a lower cost. And this is practically adaptable to plants that already have these trickle filters, or plants that are looking to improve their effluent quality other than just underutilizing it. This is a solution to consider. And how does this solution work? So this is a case that has already been implemented. So what happens in this solution is that we combine the two systems. So instead of traditionally the nitrification takes place in an activated sludge process, the aerobic zone. So instead of nitrification taking place in an activated sludge, we take it outside and it goes through an internal settling tank where the sludge or the solids and the liquid will be separated, and the solids will go to the liquids will go to a trickle filter. This is ammonia-rich supernatant, and then it's go for nitrification. And after nitrification, that nitrate-rich effluent is then sent back together with the sludge, with the solids, to the anoxic zone for denitrification. And this, in this manner, nitrification takes place externally from the activated sludge process. And this has a potential to reduce the sludge age of the activated sludge system significantly. And this has so many benefits. Number one, the benefit is that the minimum aerobic mass fraction for nitrification is no longer required. The aerobic reactor volume does not have to be maintained to accommodate internal fixed media. And also nitrification, aeration for nitrification is no longer required. It's only required for COD utilization, which means that you save on costs in terms of energy. And by uncoupling the sludge age from nitrification in the system, the treatment capacity of the existing activated sludge process is significantly increased, and the bioreactor volume and the settling tank volumes that will be required will decrease. And this results in major intensification with really considerable cost benefit. And I know sometimes it's more economical to abandon these old systems for new plant designs or to provide better treatment. However, I believe that it's possible to incorporate all or parts of the existing old system into a new system that is capable of producing really high quality effluent. And there would be significant savings that will be achieved as a result of increased capacity, the smaller reactor requirement, and reduction in oxygen demand and better settling. And I believe that the most significant advantage of this system would be that it offers high quality effluent in an already existing infrastructure without having to increase the process unit, enabling plants that could not meet these stringent new effluent standards to meet them without any so much investment into new infrastructure. And the question that I asked is, are advanced systems always better? And I believe they are better, and I believe it's imperative for researchers, academic, local municipalities, and water utilities to look into this advanced systems because of the benefit that they offer. However, I believe that these solutions should be relevant for the utility specific needs, taking into account the cost. It shouldn't be a copy and paste type of a approach when it comes to these solutions or these technologies, but we should really look at the utilities or also the environment which this technology will be applied into. And in many cases, I've seen that improving the old system or combining it with the new can provide more relevant or even better performance than just looking into the new systems. So yeah, that is, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Funani, for your presentation. It was super interesting actually to hear the work that you've been doing to develop this system. And I would like maybe to ask a little bit at our IT if we have our last speaker available. Can maybe just give it a last trial. I understand there is a little bit of issues with the connection, so that's what is happening, but it's always the challenges when doing this kind of hybrid events. So please have a little bit of patience with us on this one. Can I have any confirmation if we can give it a go more? I believe we're like trying to reach out to him once more. No. So this is, I'm giving me the no. So I think what we're going to do now is that unfortunately we will not be able to have the last presentation as it was planned. But what we will do instead is that we will move on to the debate session. I will ask first of all our speakers, the ones that are here, to come up here next to me. So we make the debate, and I also ask the ones that are online to get ready to be hit by questions. While we get everything ready, so I would very much kindly ask you if you could, all of you who have questions, to write them in the chat if you are online, or if you're here in person, I would kindly ask you to raise your hand. We have one of our colleagues, Nina, that will come around with a microphone so that you can bring the question. And yes, and when you have a question, please make sure to write your name and the organization you're coming from. Of course, also the questions and who the question is directed to. So we know who of the presenters. There's not going to be a fight between presenters. We know who of them should be answering him. And it's also okay if it is more than one. We are, of course, very happy to address that as well. Good. So, yes, any questions here in the audience? Please raise your hands. we get started just to kick things off with a question for Maya that is online, or Katie in this case, can be both answering. I think it was quite interesting to hear a bit the reference that you made around the sector strategy collaboration. And I would kindly ask you if you could elaborate on that one a little bit more, and especially highlight some of the synergies between this kind of collaboration. And
we cannot hear anything on our side.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure if there was a question for me.
Well, you got it right that it was a question for you. So at least that one is, some of it came through, I guess. Can you hear us now?
I cannot hear anything either. Martin here.
Sorry.
Vibeke, you're muted.
Yes, sorry. We're just checking that there is... Is it coming through the voice now? Okay. Yes, absolutely. So we can start. Change of plan. We can start with one of the presenter here, and I'll first ask Ms Shana if you could the first question is for you, and I think you mentioned quite well some of the challenges that you have faced in the local communities. You mentioned some of the solutions that you are ensuring that it is available also for those who are off-grid. And I would like to hear if you could elaborate more on the sustainability of some of these solutions that you have identified, if you have any experience with that, and also on how this can be scaled up. So what have you tried? What have you not? What is up? What is in the future?
A proper water to this community. So therefore, what we have to do is you can calculate at the moment in Institut Tenggara there's a 20% that not having good access to the clean water. So that's why this is our target market. And among this 20%, what we do is actually to see what is the local potential economy that they can grow by using this clean water access. So in that case, you are not only providing the water access, but you are also empowering the local economy so they can afford it to pay the some amount to operate the water access accessibility that they're going to have. So in the scale level thing, so what we are doing right now is how to see to accelerate the water access to this spread the community and islands, coastal, mountainous, and etc. And then to match them with the potential local economy, and then we grow all this ecosystem. Then they will grow their economy, and they can afford and they can live it better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. So these and just a clarification: are these solutions that you are already taking place, or?
Yes, it's already taken. At the moment, we have like 3 locations, 2 coastals and 1 in mountains, and then we're proposing to access 15 more. So in the short term, we're going to build this water plant in all over these places, and then we're going to reduce the number of untapped water access to the community.
Okay, that's great to hear. I just want to check before we move on to the next questions how's the audio online, if it's working well now as it should. Okay, I'm very happy to hear that. And so the next question, I guess we can go back to the question we had initially for Maya, Pasgaard, and Vicky. And please just confirm before I start splurging the whole question again. Please confirm that you can hear me. Is that the case?
Yes.
That's all good.
Yes,
I'm happy
we can
to hear
hear you
that.
now.
And
Yes.
so just repeating the question I had before. During your presentation, you mentioned the sector strategy collaboration, and I would like to hear if you could elaborate a little bit more around this collaboration and what are the synergies with the work that you're doing in your project.
If allowed, I would like to pass the word to my my skilled PhD student who works exactly on this work stream in our project. So as she already said in the presentation, we have dedicated a whole work package for exactly the collaboration between, or the synergies between, the research and the city-to-city sector collaboration. So Kathy, if everyone can hear you, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, the SSC is a collaboration that is now taking place, I believe, more than 7 years. And it started initially very broad on sustainable urban development and dividing it up in 4 different topics. But now they're focusing more on that, because that was one track initially that was quite successful within the last 7 years. And now they've sort of built new collaborations also with the Department of Water and Sanitation within the city. And what they're doing there is basically looking at a water security strategy, so really from very broad. And then they have 3 other tracks that are sort of also influencing the water security strategy in terms of resource optimization, using groundwater, for example, as a resource, looking at water leaking, etc. So we are trying here then actually to look a little bit and come from a different perspective of nature-based solutions, and trying that to also sort of bring into the discussion on how nature can actually also help in improving water quality, because we've seen with the green spaces and the waste that there's actually a lot of potential there as well to include also different stakeholders from other departments as well into the process. So this process is right now running. They're right now setting up a process to co-develop the strategy, and we are sort of also here on board and monitoring that process and also seeing where we can sort of chip in as the researchers.
Good. Thank you very much, Katie and Maya. I must admit from our side, we missed a little bit the beginning, but we catch especially the part where Katie was explaining around the role of nature-based solutions and in the work that they're doing. And one thing I was a bit wondering is if you could just elaborate, and it might be we missed it, but please repeat that if that's the case. Is nature-based solution something that you have seen? To which extent is it already present in this in the sector strategy collaboration? And do you see this as an area that is is emerging? I understood from the part we could catch that it was kind of the unique part that you were coming with. Is that the case? If that's correct? And yes, please say a few words around that.
Yeah, sure. In the existing, or what you might say, the ongoing process, the sector collaboration between the cities, they are focusing more on a technical aspects and bringing in the technical expertise from the Danish side. But there is in Aarhus many nature-based solutions in terms of, for instance, rewilding or re-wetting the landscapes. And this is also something that we focus on the research side, bringing in also the aesthetic and design and cultural perspectives, the social sides that can then complement or supplement the more technical focus. So I think we are also very much welcomed and invited into this process that the 2 cities have ongoing, and with these open arms, we feel that we can bring both a stronger nature perspective and also a stronger community and justice and I say local perspectives into this sort of top institutional layer that they are working on. We move more bottom up from the community level, and integrating that with the higher officials sort of collaboration on that level of the institutions across the departments. So we see ourselves as a knowledge partner that, as Kathy said, sort of assesses, gives some deeper analysis into their processes, but working with them from planning to co-development of analysis to almost execution and analysis. So we try to integrate different stakeholders throughout the process. Of course, it's a bit of a back and forth between the researchers and the other stakeholders in the process, but we want this more holistic transdisciplinary approach, which has both complications and barriers to break, but also great potential as we look ahead.
Thank you.
That is a fulfilling answer.
Absolutely, Maya, and thank you very much for kind of like highlighting these elements that you are bringing, kind of like focus also on some of the bit more maybe soft skills on the side of the technical side, as try to integrate them, which is of course super relevant. I hear from our colleagues here that we would like to give it a trial more for our last presenters, also to have the opportunity to present, and of course we would like to accommodate this. So I'll try again, and I hope he's can you confirm everything is working as it should?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wow, that's lovely. Thank you very much. So just very quick introduction, which I think I said already before, but I'll repeat it very briefly. The next and last presenter is going to be Dr. Martin Oteng-Abadio. He's a distinguished professor of urban geography at the University of Ghana, and he will be introducing us to the role of institutions in the provision of urban infrastructure in Tema in Ghana. Over to you, Martin. We could hear well, we could see you well, and we can also see the slides, which is great.
Thank you for the opportunity, and apologies for that technological hitch-up. Yes.
Just one thing, I can see the slides. They are in not in presenter mode, so I just want to check we are seeing the same screen. And yes, I can see the arrow is going to the right side. That's perfect. Thank you very much. You're good to go.
So yes, I'm presenting this on behalf of my colleagues that we are as a joint program, a project being run by University of Ghana here in Ghana and scheduled in Aarhus, Denmark. So I'm presenting this on their behalf. And the project is named Sustainable Wastewater Management, and it's been done in Tema, and it's been powered or funded by the kind courtesy of Danida. Now, this partnership has been going on for some time now, and specifically this part of the project looks at how we can manage wastewater so that we can abate some of the challenges that we encounter in Tema. To put it into context, Tema is the only planned city in Ghana. In fact, from the genesis to its current state was planned by the first president of Ghana in around the 1950s. And it's a city that has a sewage system. Most cities in Ghana use other form of septic tanks to collect fecal matter. But because Tema is a planned city, it's partly covered by sewage system. And that was done in the 1960s. A sewage system that was meant for 20,000 people now is serving about 360,000 people, built in the 1960s. So the idea to get this partnership work also hinges on great collaboration between the various institutions horizontally and vertically. A very good relationship between Ghana and Denmark vertically, and with among the institutions that operate within the Tema Metropolitan Assembly. And two main institutions come into play here: the Tema Development Corporation and the Tema Metropolitan Assembly. The Tema Development Corporation was founded in 1965 to see to the development of the city. As, for example, those who are aware happens in 1975 for Malawi Lolenge. Then in the 1990s, the country shifted into the decentralization program, and that brought in the Metropolitan Assembly by the Act of 2016, Act 936, made each assembly a planning unit. And by a planning unit, the Metropolitan Assembly is then supposed to be the sole assembly that is responsible, or the sole organization responsible for the management, planning, and monitoring of TEMA, a function that was performed initially by TEMA Development Corporation. This is very important because it's a sewage system, all the plans are with TEMA Development Corporation. And if any maintenance can be carried out, we needed these plans to make them effective. On the picture here, you see the current state of TEMA, a city that is supposed to be planned is virtually now a slum because of the controversy between the two institutions, TEMA Development Corporation on one side and TEMA Development Metropolitan Assembly, as to who manages the city. And the success of this sector plan, strategic sector plan cooperation between Ghana and Denmark, the success depends on those two institutions. What are some of the challenges that the impasse is bringing? That brings in what we call the bricolage. When two elephants fight, the grasses suffer. So there's no political will as to who manages TEMA. In one breath, TEMA Development Corporation, who used to be the sole manager of the city, still wants to hold on to its traditional duty of managing TEMA. So as we speak, TEMA Development Corporation gives building permits, whilst TEMA Metropolitan Assembly, which is constitutionally mandated to do that, also gives building permits. What then happens is, even where the sewage system is being trampled upon, where people are invading these sewage structures with impunity, because permits are given by two different authorities. There's completely weak management and enforcement of laws within the metropolis. And every space in TEMA has now been turned into a commercial activity. And they all because the two institutions are not working in tandem with what the law says.
Just ask you to, I don't know how far here, just ask you to wrap up since, that's perfect. Great timing.
Just summing up.
Yes.
I'm just summing up. The truth of the matter is that if this cooperation between Denmark and Ghana is to succeed, then there should be an urgent need to resolve the impasse between TDC and TMA. If for nothing at all, there's an issue of finance and the management of the land, which is very crucial for the success of this cooperation. Thank you very much.
Very relevant to see, and especially also to see how this collaboration might or hopefully contribute to addressing some of the challenges you have expressed here. So we'll just go back to the debate and to the questions for our presenters. I would like, first of all, to hear if there are, I don't see many hands raising up here in the room, so I would like just to make a quick check if everyone is still alive and awoken and is please just raise your hands and we're very happy to address. There are actually a few questions. I must say the people online are quite a few questions coming in. And I would like to address the first one after Martin's presentation to our presenters, Funani. And apologies, I'll just be reading out. Which treatment? This presenter this question is for Funani. Just repeating it, and is toward the presentation. Which treatment plant in Schwein did you test your idea, and what is the treatment capacity? I hope you could hear the question. Yeah. That's great. Over to you.
Okay. Firstly, maybe just to clear, this wasn't my idea. It's an implemented research. There was a collaboration between City of Tshwane, University of Cape Town, and Water Research Commission. So they came up with this idea, but as a side stream. So it was implemented at Dashboard Wastewater Treatment Works, which has 55, which treats 55 megaliters a day. So it was implemented there, but only for one unit. So with this case, I'm making a case that this system has a potential to be implemented at even more. For example, downstream, we have a plant that is running over capacity, but they have an underutilized biofilters. So I believe that this already proven system can be implemented even there, and many other wastewater treatment works across South Africa that has the same systems.
Thank you, Funan. That was very clear. Just maybe to put a few words on the number, which I know not everyone is maybe familiar with in terms of sizes. So if I understand well, you have tested it on a kind of like limited capacity. Is that correct? Or how would you describe the volume that you've been testing on this so far?
It has been tested in a plant that treats 55 million liters a day, but only on one unit, which is capable of treating 15,000 million liters a day. 15 million liters a day. So it's only treated. So I'm saying it has potential to be implemented at even more capacity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds really exciting. And can I ask you, like, looking a little bit into the future, you already mentioned one plant where you might be testing this as well. So just to understand, are you currently testing in other areas, or do you have this planned already? What is the plan for the future?
No, not currently. Currently, it's not being tested anywhere. But we have a big challenge where there's been a huge economic development and population growth. Most of our plants now can't cope with the influence that is coming. And we have most of these biological treatment filters just standing, not being utilized. So in the future, I'm proposing to my city that I think it's about time we start utilizing them in a more efficient and better way.
Good. Thank you very much, Funani. The next question is for Jesse. Pronounce it right. That's good. For Jesse, and is one of the challenges you have been mentioning in Ghana around groundwater is the decentralization one of the solutions, if I remember, was the decentralization of water governance. And I was a little bit wondering if you could explain a little bit more, is this something that has been currently, you had a little bit of considerations, is there any action being done, any strategy being defined, being put in place? What is happening in that domain? Because I think spoke a little bit also into what your colleague Martin was talking.
Yeah, thank you very much. Currently, Ghana is divided in terms of water governance into river basins. And these river basins are very, very large, especially the White Volta Basin, where I am, is about 50,000 square kilometers, bigger than the country of Denmark. But we only have 2 technical people to manage this entire area. it becomes very, very difficult to be able to do this work. So what we've done is to break down the basins into sub-basins. So we have 9 sub-basins, and under those sub-basins, we still want to have sub-ones under them, which are going to be the local water committees, local water associations, and we bring on board people who are involved around the usage of water, stakeholders. We have fishermen, we have farmers, we have sand winners, because in the north, most of the sand, the fine sand we need for construction comes from the rivers. And these people are changing the morphology of our rivers and other things. So we bring all these people on board in terms of the management of these water resources. They take part, they come up with their own ideas and their own ways of addressing some of these water challenges, and then they bring them all the way up to the basin, and then we sit together as a basin and then address all these things. Because of the role chiefs and traditional leaders play in our societies, the land tenure system of Ghana is said that land is vested in the chiefs, not in the state. So almost all resources within this environment somehow belong to the chiefs and the people, even though constitutionally, the government of Ghana controls all these things. So it's very difficult to be able to put in any management strategy that does not involve the people. So try to bring about this collective system of management by putting some of the control in the hands of the people, but not the final decision, because if you allow the final decision for the people to make, then it becomes difficult for you to regulate them. So they are able to contribute to the management of these water resources by being part of the committees, being part of the association, being part of the body that manages the water resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jesse. And I think that's a very good point. I could see Shana was nodding quite a lot, which kind of indicates it's also something she's been experienced with, or at least she seems very engaged in. The next question coming in is for Martin, and there are a few acronyms, so I'm going to be struggling, but I'll try to read out loud my best. So what do you think will happen if more water is supplied for groundwater? Is GWCAL, which I believe is groundwater climate change. Was that right? Okay. And also on the side of that question, I would also like you to address how will the two key institutions cooperate to handle the additional wastewater being generated. Over to you, and I hope, Mikkel, we are really testing this. Martin, we are really testing this connection, so I hope now it will work well. We can see you at least.
Well, how the two institutions can collaborate should not be an issue, because by legislation, Tema Metropolitan Assembly have been given the right to manage and develop and plan for Tema. Tema Development Corporation, so far as legal issues are concerned, have nothing to do. In fact, they should operate only under the condition of Tema Metropolitan Assembly. There's no ambiguity in law. What perhaps appears to be the issue is the political will to put things right. And that perhaps is what is needed from our political leaders to get these two institutions work in harmony. Once that is done, Ghana Water Company, they do they manage things and they work, even though there's also some collaboration between Metropolitan Assembly and Ghana Water that should be strengthened. I think the collaboration between Denmark and Ghana has brought the two together, and it is hoped that they can work in harmony for the betterment of Tema.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that clarifications. And please let me know if there are any further questions. I hope I picked right on the acronym, so please let me know if that was not the case or if we need to reposition the question. But I think that was a very clear message, and maybe also a tough one, looking at the political changes that might be a bit harder than just move on the technology, at least from our side. But that's well received, Martin. one question coming in, and this is directed toward the first presenter, should say presenters, Maya and Katie. And it is actually a question that I think speaks a little bit to the question we had before to Jesse around engagement of the community. So how do you plan to engage the community, change habits, and especially how do you plan to address a technical failure engineering problem, maybe a bit more manageable than political will?
Thank you for that great but very difficult question, of course. I think it's about the process and involving people in the whole process of these prototypes, and the embeddedness, the upscaling, the ownership of these should be with the communities. First off, we will start with an incentive. It's important to say also we actually just started this project, but we will start off with an incentive study to also find out what are the barriers, what are the catalyzers, how should we approach this with the communities. Also liaising with the local gatekeepers, and then bring the community on board with the brainstorming, what is needed, what are the existing skills, and then co-create the design of our prototypes with the community, and involve them in decision making. Because, I mean, we don't bring the change. We can only hope to catalyze or facilitate the stakeholders' ability to make the changes and make them long-lasting, so that when we leave at some point, the change doesn't leave with us. It's just noting that it's about the process of engaging. It's lovely to hear from Jesse that you also have almost done working with the stakeholder and mapping out the stakeholders is an important first step. Regarding the technical issues, the leaks and the spills that I presented, it's also first about mapping out what is the actual response options, what is the chain of commands. We think it's very much about trust issues, trust in the government, trusting the response options. So how can we then co-create this trust? How can we bring stakeholders to the same table and see the greater mutual benefits of taking ownership and taking responsibility, joint responsibility in solving these technical issues. And luckily, it's very much the same strategy and same ideas that our public partners have, and working together in a joint to create a joint strategy, a joint vision that everyone can align with, that everyone can believe in. If there's time, maybe Kathy can add a few words. It's up to you, Nicola.
Yes, please, Kathy, do. And maybe one thing you could elaborate a little bit more of what Maya was saying here is around the stakeholder mapping. Just a clarification. So how far do you feel you are in this journey? Is it and I know it can be quite tough sometimes, but how do you see yourself in that process? And I hope it was okay. I throw you in the spotlight there, Katie, with that one.
Yeah, it is. I think, the great thing about our project is that we follow up on a previous research project, right? So we have existing relationships and mapped out stakeholders and worked with the communities for over, I think, 2 years, 3 years now even. So I think we can definitely build upon that. And I think that's also very important to see from the funder perspective that, projects are longer, right, in order to build sort of relationships, because we find them in so many ways always so crucial that you have sort of gatekeeper that also, bridge sort of you and bring you to the communities, because that's obviously one of the toughest things to get, right, access to the communities and access to that knowledge. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think you've definitely addressed that question, and it was also good the clarification you also brought up around the the synergies with the previous project you're building on. One thing I was just wondering is because now Maya called out Jesse, so I think it's a bit hard not to. No, there are some questions here from the audience, but before we move to those, it's a bit hard not to point on him, and I was a little bit I want to ask you, could you elaborate a little bit what you heard, any experiences, any synergies, anything you can share on also the process on the stakeholder mapping process that you're also going through from your side?
Stakeholder mapping exercise to be able to identify the relevant stakeholders who should be involved in this decision-making process and being part of the committees. We actually invited a whole number of them, probably from different livelihoods, more than 30 different people, different institutions, different organizations, and we've sat with them on a number of occasions, probably up to 5-6 times, just to have a fair idea of what they think about the resource management within the basin. And out of that, we are able to identify the relevant stakeholders we can work with, because we don't have the space to be able to work with everybody. So as Maya said, we are also into nature-based solution, application of nature-based solution, protecting some of these resources that we have. We are currently doing some afforestation around some of our rivers, where there's been a lot of degradation because of sand winning. And when we wanted to do this, it was very important we brought on board these people who are involved in this sand winning, because that is the source of their livelihood. There was a time the military was sent in to be able to control the activities. They ended up burning some of their trucks, tipper trucks that were cutting sand from the river, and we thought this would have stopped the sand winning. The next day, the trucks were back. New trucks were back, because this is the only way these people are able to gain their livelihood. So in sitting with them, they realized their activities were also affecting the environment, and if there was a way we could help them so that they could do it in a safer way, or in a way that does not destroy the environment, it would have helped them a lot. So we came up together with some ideas, and they were willing to volunteer to be able to restore some of these areas that have been degraded by themselves. They committed their trucks. Trucks were used to carry seedlings from nurseries to the riverside to be able to plant. They were involved in it. And then we also had a discussion with some farmers who were farming along these river bodies, and they agreed to be able to move away, but in us supporting them in sharing the cost of probably lifting water from the riverside, because of the nature of our area, because it's a Sahel area. In the dry seasons, you don't have rainfall, and the land becomes dry, you cannot farm. So most of the people have to go to the river basin, they go into the flat plains. So in getting all of them out, you have to find a way of lifting the water for them. And all these things came about through the stakeholder mapping, through engagement with stakeholders. And we've all agreed on a shared way of addressing these issues. And we've had some successes where we've been able to move farmers from the flat plains onto the highlands, and then we've colonized the place by planting trees. We also have put in place a buffer zone policy. And all these these stakeholders were all involved in coming up with these decisions, because if you don't involve them, then it becomes difficult for them to accept it when you bring it on board.
Which is exactly what Maya was already mentioning. So I think thank you very much to outline a little bit how the processes work for you, what has also been the benefit from your side. There is